Today, we are going to talk about converting units of liquid measure or units of capacity. So you've already practiced converting units of length, like centimeters to meters and millimeters and so on. But today, we're going to do that with capacity, which means things, units you would use to measure liquid. So let's warm up our brains by just thinking about the units of capacity. So today we're going to talk about milliliters, liters, and then 2 liters. So this, I just put these visuals to give you a sense in your head, right? A milliliter is like what fits in one of these droppers that you might see in the science lab. It is a very small quantity of liquid. Can you picture that in your head? Now, compare that to a liter, which is like a pitcher, or probably more familiar to you. You've seen a 2-liter bottle before, and that is a full liter. Now, what I want you to know is that 1 liter is the same thing as 1,000 milliliters, right? So that's why I said each of these drops was teeny tiny, because it would take 1,000 of them to fill up that pitcher. Okay, so keep that in your head. Milliliters, teeny tiny. Liters are much larger. And then do this exercise. Circle the unit you would use to measure each amount. So for instance, if I'm thinking of a large jug of milk, oh my goodness, I don't want to measure that in teeny tiny milliliters. That would take me forever. I'm just going to measure that. I would use liters. And you've probably seen that when you bought milk. Actually, if you pay attention to the label, it'll even say how many liters it is. It wouldn't say how many milliliters. Okay, so I did the first one for you. I want you to pause the video and try the rest on your own. Playback when you're ready to reveal the answer. So I'm going to just go over these answers, and you can give a woohoo if you agree. The water in a thimble, teeny tiny amount, would be in milliliters. The glass of juice, also since it's only a glass, you're going to use milliliters. The water in a whole water cooler, that's a big quantity, so we're going to need to use liters. In a fish tank, same thing. We need to use liters. Hopefully I'm hearing lots of woos, and it's okay if your first instinct was wrong. It will hopefully make sense as you think about this a little bit more. In a liquid in a paper cup, that one's small, so we would want to use milliliters for that. A tank of gas is very large, liters. A spoonful of oil, milliliters. A large bottle of fruit juice, liters. And a can of soup, since it's not that big, milliliters. So the can of soup I thought was a little bit trickier, so I asked to explain how you decided which to choose for a can of soup. Maybe you were a little conflicted about that, but I might say, well, I know it might not have, I wouldn't have a whole liter in it, because a liter, I'm picturing a big jug, and so I need a smaller unit, so I would want to use milliliters. Otherwise, if I were talking in liters, I would have to give a fraction or a decimal, because it's only part of a whole. Okay, let's practice some converting. So this is going to be on page 114 in your journal. So if you don't have it out, pause the video right now, get your journal, open up to page 114. I want you to do these with me. So off to the side, you'll see another measurement scale. Again, not the scale like when you go figure out how much you weigh at the doctor's office. This is a measurement scale, which helps us convert between units. So I could look at any of these measurements. For instance, I could look at 1 liter and know that that was 1,000 milliliters. Or then, of course, 2 liters would have 2,000. So these can be really useful when converting. So I already told you, and we just saw again, that 1 liter is 1,000 milliliters. That's one I want you to memorize. You should just know that. And this prefix milli can help you, because that can make you think of 1,000. So 1 liter is 1,000 milliliters. 1 liter, say it with me, is 1,000 milliliters. One more time, 1 liter is 1,000 milliliters. Okay, now that we have that in our head, if I wanted to know how many milliliters were in 3 liters, well, I could look on my scale, 3 liters, and I notice that's 3,000 milliliters. Or you could also say, I need to do 3 liters times 1,000 milliliters in each, and that gives me my 3,000. Let's skip ahead. I want to check this one with you. If it said 14,000 milliliters, I'm like, oh, my scale only goes up to 9,000. How am I going to do this? Don't worry, you can do it. You just have to think in this case, something times 1,000, some number of liters times 1,000 will give me 14,000. You are pros at extended facts. We know that has to be 14. So 14 1,000 times would be 14 thousands. Great, so that one was filled in for you. I want you to pause the video now and try the rest of problem 1 on your own. Play back when you're ready to see the answers. So now you're checking your work. 5 liters was 5,000. 10 liters was 10,000 milliliters, and 22 liters, 22,000 milliliters. Give a woohoo if you agree. And if you didn't, go back and check your work. Maybe replay this part of the video where we did the couple together so that you can feel comfortable with those. Next up, now it wants us, to go from milliliters to milliliters, but now with decimals. Now remember, a decimal is a part of a whole. So if I had 1 5/10 of a liter, it means I don't quite have a full liter. So if we just said a full liter is 1,000 milliliters, right? Well, then we would know, I'll switch colors just so it stands out. If I'm talking about 5/10 of a liter, or in this case, half of a liter, like, okay, well, what's half of 1,000? That's only 500 milliliters. It's not quite 1,000 milliliters because 1,000 milliliters would be a whole. Okay, we're going to apply that knowledge now. So they told you that 1 5/10 liters is 1,500 milliliters. You can also see that on the conversion chart. Oh, actually, it's not listed, but we could visualize it right in here on your conversion scale, right? Between 1,400 and 1,600 would be over there. So let's try another one of these. If I have 4 4/10 liters, well, I know the 4 part's going to be 4,000, and then this 4/10 is not quite a whole, it's just 400 extra milliliters. So I like to think of it as when I'm multiplying by 1,000, you're moving place values, so you can move your decimal point because you're moving place values, and I move it over 1, 2, 3 because it was times 1,000, right? So I move over 3 place values, and now I think, okay, so this number is now like this, which I know is 4,400. Or as you get the hang of this, you'll start to realize, okay, 4/10 of a liter, I'll just make that into my hundreds place. That's 400 milliliters. So you'll kind of get the hang of it too. And lastly, you could use the conversion scale, right? I could find 4 4/10. Oh, I misspoke. 4 4/10 of a liter would be 4,400 milliliters. Now, the one I want to do together is this missing liters one. So if you have 9,100 milliliters, now remember how I said when I was multiplying by 100, I was moving to the right 3 place values? Well, now I'm going to move to the left 3 place values, right? It's going to be smaller. So I could imagine there's a decimal point here. I'm going to move 1, 2, 3, and that's 9 whole liters and 1/10. And I always think think, does my answer make sense? Well, yeah, because this 9,000 part, that's my 9 whole liters. And then this just 100 was only 100 out of 1,000, right? So that's only, cross cancel my zeros, that's only 1/10. Okay, so that is how we go backwards. Pause the video and try the rest of number 2 on your own. Play back when you're ready for answers. So you should have gotten 7,500 milliliters and 8,800. Give woohoo if you agree, and go back and check if you're still stuck. Replay that part of the video to help you. Last but not least, we are going to practice filling these in on a visual model. So I wrote this question, what's each tick mark worth? So in problem 3, right, you have all these tick marks. Well, here I have to think this one is similar to my scale over here, where each time they're moving by 2/10, part of a whole, 2/10 of a liter. I did not write that very clearly. Let me try again. So this is 2/10, right? Each tick mark, and then you keep counting with me. Then this one would be 4/10, 6/10, 8/10, and 10/10, which perfect. 10/10 is the same as 1 whole liter. So each of these tick marks is worth 2/10. So if it wants you to shade in 2 and 2/10, well, I have to shade in all the way up to 2 wholes, and then even past that, 1 more tick mark to represent the 2/10. Right, so I'd shade in all of that. And now if I want to think of that in milliliters, 2 and 2/10, well, I'm going to move 1, 2, 3 place values. I know that's, put my zeros. So I went out of order. Let me get back here. Okay, there we go. So I had 2 more, I moved to the decimal 3 place values, which means I have this new number, which 1, 2, 3, comma, is 2,200. Or you might have been able to think that through in your head, right? This 2 whole, that's worth 1,000, so that's the 2,000, and then 2/10 is only part of a whole, so it's not going to be 1,000. That was only 200 milliliters. Okay, go ahead, pause the video and try B and C on your own. Play back when you're ready to see the answers. So 6/10, I thought 2/10, 4/10, 6/10. That would go right up to here. And then I know this is not quite 1,000 milliliters. It's only 600 milliliters. And then 1 and 9/10, this one we had to do a little in between, right? This is 2/10, this is 4/10, this is 6/10, this is 8/10, this is 10/10, so I need to go right in between 8/10 and 10/10. Halfway in between those would be where I'd find my 9/10. I shade all that in, and this is the same as 1,900 milliliters. So today on your home link, you are going to practice some word problems. I will leave you to that, but before you do, I just want to give you a quick reminder of the steps to problem solving. Make sure you read to understand, read the problem really carefully, underline the question, make your plan, solve, and then check if your answer makes sense. So this was a tip about the journal. Some of you do the journal, some of you would do the home link, but no matter what problems you're doing, you are going to follow these steps to problem solving and have fun converting units of liquid.